Snafu is a podcast that contains adult themes and language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Snafu, where the situation's normal, all fucked up. This is the podcast where we tell you stories of true crime, true mystery, and truly fucked up shit that happens every single day, and then we just forget about it. So, we decided we'd remind you. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Corey, and thanks for coming back to another episode, guys.
Yep, our last episode happened to be our first listeners episode.
And that was really fun to do.
Yeah, we actually had a blast. We got to tell about 4 stories, one being my own. And I can tell you for myself that it gets awful weird, not only, writing out your own story, but trying to, say it. So if you guys are, trying to write us a story and you're like, no, this is too long. It's not. This is too awkward. Probably. But go ahead and send it to us. We want to see your stories. We want to live vicariously through you. And we had a lot of fun with it. So I can't wait for next month when we get to do it again.
Yeah, I might even try to dig into my own personal depths to see if I can pull out a story from when I was in New Orleans. You know, that'll just kind of make things a little bit easier for everybody else, knowing that even Corey has stories they can put on this.
Yeah, and our last episode was pretty wild, though. I mean, we had friends and everyone write in, and we had stories about scuba diving going wrong, all the way to, riding on the Autobahn, and even to, Melissa's possession story, which she actually wrote us back already and said that if we were willing to hear, an update to that, and what happened to the family seance, she was willing to give us that little update, so I'm excited.
I'd really be interested in hearing, more of what happened on that one, just to kind of get through that story, and it felt like we kind of ended in the middle.
I need the closure. But no, and also she has a really, really great podcast where she talks about her paranormal experiences and everything that she does. So it's just a little glimpse into what she kind of does normally on her own show. And I just find that so much fun. So I can't thank her enough for writing into us. And I can't thank Chris or Brandon enough either. But let's get beyond that. We're going to talk about what we're doing this week. It feels like such a long week already.
Yeah, it's been a really long week, and I'm prepping to head up to DC for a conference, so that makes my workload double at work because I'm trying to get everything done so I don't need to really take too much of it home or on my trip with me, but the way it's going to work, I'm going to have to take some of my work with me.
Yeah, and I'm just being whiny. I felt like I hit a rough patch. I lost my good luck Gree that I had for 2 years, and it's one of those things I carry around that makes me feel really good, and then on top of that, I was going to go on this trip with Corey because I love going to see, DC when the flowers, the cherry blossoms start to change. It's
going to be snowing. It's going to be miserable.
Well, we're in Florida, so I never get to see snow either. And I got friends up there.
Why we're in Florida.
And I'm going to miss it because instead of going, I ended up buying tickets to see a live episode of the Wine and Crime Girls. Which, like I said, is the reason I got into podcasting in the first place.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'm paying that money and risking not being able to see them. So I'm going to go do that instead. I'm so excited. Corey's
really cool.
I'm so glad I'm traveling. That's not his cup of tea.
I don't like live performances of most things.
I don't know. I don't think Corey likes people talking at him in any general way.
That's kind of I like going to concerts and stuff, but I just I don't like going to see plays. I don't like going to see, spoken word type of stuff.
Ugh, I love all that stuff. So I'll be there, probably singing by myself and getting drunk and whooping and hollering and laughing. I can't wait. It's going to be super fun.
It's going to be a really good time for you. I'm excited that you're able to go because you've been listening to them for a while.
Yeah, and they're really growing into, big, good, new things. So I wish them the best, and I hope we only follow in their footsteps, really. Oh my God, what if one day we got to do an interview with them?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and dive back into what we were talking about last week. And that was Keith Raniers. Now, I've actually heard his last name said a couple different ways, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. And we pretty much here on this show stick with first names anyway, so we know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. All right, so last week we told you we were getting into a cult, and then instead, we didn't give you a sweet pair of sneakers, we didn't give you a new name, we just told you about a guy named Keith Raniers. But look, the point is it was necessary to tell you about him before we talked a lot more about his acts that would be considered a cult. And so I just promised it was really important that we expanded on Keith's story and we told you about his past so you can understand what his current alleged, finger gun points.
Air quotes?
Air quotes.
Finger guns is what Biden does.
I do air quotes, but mine are also finger guns at the same time, like pew pew.
It's the weirdest thing in the world, guys, I promise.
Really makes my point stand out there. Anyways, we're going to talk about his alleged cult. But like I stated in our last episode, cults often revolve around unique philosophies or religions, but it's often the figurehead of the group that holds the whole thing together. Like Manson, like Tian Do, you got Jim Jones, you got Keith. Nothing works in these programs without Keith. So in order to understand, the cult at its core, you need to know those people. So just a recap on who Keith is. Keith was born in New York in 1960, and even at a really young age, he was considered a genius. And his parents, they coddled him, they loved him, but they also ended up getting divorced when he was 8. And he ended up being raised by his mother, and then he graduated from college with 3 degrees. Now, when we say he's smart, he truly is. All the tests, he even was in the Guinness Book of World Records. At the same time, when he's graduating from college around the 23, 24 age, he's still dating girls around 15 or 16, typically. And then in the 1990s, Keith left his work as a computer programmer. He did a couple of months over at Amway, and then he ended up starting his own business called Consumers Byline Incorporated, which we kind of filled you in on in the last episode. Suffice to say, Consumers Byline Incorporated was a company where you bought into membership and then you were supposed to get discounts on certain things like groceries and cars and oil changes.
It's like a culty Costco.
Yeah, except for Keith didn't actually have a building and there was nowhere to go and there was nowhere to pick this stuff up. You had to go find out those
super
deals on your
Costco.
own. And then really it turned out to be that the point wasn't even getting the deals. The point was to get membership, and you could get money off the membership that you pulled in. So hence, it got really, really big, really fast. Of course, his dating life gets more complicated. Keith was dating multiple girlfriends in their 20s and 30s. I mean, he's actually making millions at this point. But he's also sexually involved with a 12-year-old girl who happens to be the daughter of one of his employees. And this just kind of goes in line with things that Keith does. We talked all about that last episode, and we're not really diving into anything about his dating or sex life almost at all on this episode. We just kind of wanted to give you a background because that's more like him. That's his life. That has nothing to do with his current business.
Yeah.
Yet. So within just a few years of his company growing really quickly, multiple state filings against the company ended up causing it to close. It literally was found to be a pyramid scheme, and it was dismantled.
Hooray!
He lost everything. He was supposed to... The guy that was making millions suddenly had to pay out $40,000, paid out $9,000, and then said he couldn't pay any more money and had nothing else. So then Keith started a vitamin company after that with one of his girlfriends, Tony Natalie. And Keith and Tony Natalie met a new friend named Nancy Salzman, who happens to be a nurse and a therapist. So Nancy loans Tony Natalie $50,000 for Keith and Tony's company, the vitamin company. And yet Keith and Nancy end up starting this big friendship based on the fact that they have a shared philosophy on the psychotherapy technique neuro-linguistic programming, which is something we went all into last episode.
Yep.
And then they kind of decided together that they were going to start a joint company in Nancy's name in order to brand this particular techniques that were Keith's. So, unfortunately, the vitamin business failed and Tony Natalie was facing bankruptcy. And then Tony and Keith ended up splitting, and meanwhile, Nancy's suing Tony Natalie because she loaned her $50,000 and Nancy's getting her $50,000 back. And eventually, she's going through bankruptcy, and as you know, if someone goes through bankruptcy and you try and sue them for money, you really don't ever get your money.
Yeah.
So, of course, she was denied, but she kept reopening this case because Keith kept urging this. Keith kept urging this because he and Tony had broken up, and he was not dealing very well with it. And so, upon his urging, Nancy took Tony Natalie through court, several times over this money. And it wasn't just that. Like, he was writing her letters, begging her to come back, talking about her lifeline, her death line. It was
crazy
getting really
ex-boyfriend.
creepy. That's kind of where we were leaving you. We were tiptoeing on the edge of Keith's new business. He was harassing Tony Natalie. His vitamin business had failed, but it didn't matter because him and Nancy Salzman had started a new company. So that company was ESP, Executive Success Program.
So now with this new company, ESP, Keith is spending some time portraying himself as some sort of hipster Jesus, a guru, a caring genius whose self-help company promised to use his own patented theories of neuro-linguistic programming, which I hate saying, I really
so
do.
Long. But
Keith, stop it with that. Just do something normal.
the point is like, Keith used to definitely look like Wolf of Wall Street with that little business mullet that he was going around with that we told you about.
Yeah, now he's...
His hair is long all over, no more mullet. I mean, he's just literally no longer the 80s, like, Wolf of Wall Street guy. Like, he is
hipster Jesus.
Guru, like, best hipster life he could possibly live.
Yep. And he's using his neuro-linguistic program to help his clients achieve further success by altering their emotions and logical perceptions of the world.
Yeah.
Woo! Change the way you think by changing some of your actions.
It's a really interesting concept that we talked about last episode that was theorized in the 1970s.
I mean, it's interesting if you have a sample size of 15 like they did, but okay. We gotta look back, guys. Now we're heading back to the late 90s, early 2000s. But back then in the late 90s, self-help therapy sessions, were all the rage. Retreats began to start gaining large followings. For the less wealthy, so our middle and lower classes, you had Dr. Phil and Oprah.
Oh my God! Like everything. Like
that. You get
that
help.
was the
you
years.
Get help.
Here's your help, and then you get to go on a vacation. Also, pay the taxes on it.
Yeah, you're just gonna pay the taxes. Oh, it's okay.
But the fact is like, I don't think any of us can look back and not remember like a bunch of different names on television, and they're like almost all daytime talk show hosts.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. But it was a bunch of people coming on TV every day to show you either a shit show or to talk about how you could help yourself and make your life better. And who doesn't want to listen to something like that?
Right. And then, for the wealthier types, too, you had these big self-help teachers like David Allen, who I'm going to say his name like I know it, but he was a guy who would charge you $10,000 for 2 in-person meetings and 2 follow-up phone calls, where he helps you as an executive learn to manage your time and minimize stress.
That's amazing.
Then there's, another one, Gary Ranker, who, he helped the executives understand their corporate culture and navigate office policies for Wall Street firms for the low price of $100,000, and he'd help you out for 6 months. Of course, if he needed to help you out for longer, which he probably did, it would cost a lot more. But,
I mean, I guess that's the point is, despite if you're wealthy or you're poor, if you're doing this for your business or for like yourself, your personal self-help, like, it seemed to be one of those eras in time where it really expanded like huge. People were really into the whole get you better, get help,
yeah,
get teaching.
Be the better you.
And, I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
But Keith's system was a little bit different. He helped executives by running them through his programming, which is a psychological program where therapists study your speech patterns and language usage, and they tweak it in order to affect you psychologically. They say that by manipulating your speaking patterns and vocabulary, you can change your entire self.
Yeah, okay.
And with this, Keith promised his clients the ability to, mimic anyone they admired and, basically just replicate them. He also promised he could cure tic disorders such as Tourette's or OCD, and just a general array of issues a person might desire to be rid of. Previously, we told you that after just one session with Keith, Tony Natalie, his ex-girlfriend, stopped smoking.
Yeah, okay. So all that sounds like almost too technical, and also too like explain it like you're 5 all at the same time. And like that's Keith's whole deal. It's like it's a very simple technique, truly. Like, so if you go through life being very negative and always talking shit to yourself, like life maybe doesn't go so well for you. Maybe you're very unhappy and you think everything sucks, but maybe that's because you're constantly walking out your door going, it's a sucky day, I hate everything, I'm gonna get hurt, I'm gonna fall. Like, when you start changing your vocabulary, people do say, like, that manipulates your life into seeing things in a different way. It makes you feel better. And what Keith is promising, though, is literally by watching your speech patterns, by watching the way you think, by the way you talk, which shows, like, the way your thinking process, like, what worries you, what scares you, like, what really holds you back, and then manipulating the words that you use to change how you actually think about a situation. That's what he's promising you. And what's crazy, though, is that he's saying, like, but I can also cure things that are almost basically diseases. I mean, maybe not a disease, but something very complicated.
It's a disorder, I think is the word you're looking for.
Disorder, thank you. It's something that's very complicated and hard to solve, which is why it's not resolved at this point. Like, there's medication you can take, there's therapies you can do, but there's nothing sure of that is promised, hey, go take this and that'll go away forever. But that's what Keith's saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's really crazy. I think last time I said, oh, I could be Rihanna, and then you got weird as if you didn't know who Rihanna was, but you know Riri. And
okay.
And but if we were to be, like, really real, maybe it's just like, okay, I really look up to this one person in town because they make a lot of money and their business does really well. And then looking at their behavior and then basically copying their typical behavior and vocabulary and hobbies. And you know what? Sometimes, yeah, you do fall in line with how they live their lives and things start working out for you.
Yeah.
Because they have a process. They have a good way of living. That's why it's working.
It just kind of all creeps me out a little bit. Like, the ability to kind of, like, watch the way someone acts, and then you just kind of, like, oh, you guys stop using this word, or you think about something, like, in this way, and it completely changes everything. It's just to me, it's a little bit scary in a way.
It is, because it's a manipulation. And it's an obvious one that you can do to yourself and realize you're causing this change. But I think what's scary is realizing, like, what if people know this and they start using it on you without your knowledge?
That's what really scares me about it, is, like, someone just kind of, like, walking in just...
And that happens. That happens on television. That happens in church. That happens at the company. You hang out with a certain group of people, or you spend time around a different place, and different ways of talking come up, especially throughout time. Things change. Like, you said things in high school you definitely don't say now, but you thought it was pretty cool to say it back then. It was fun, or it was a neat way to explain something.
Like lit. That'll disappear soon, hopefully.
I mean, that is disappearing, you
It
know?
better.
But I think when you're around certain groups and they start telling you something is this, and they have their own word for it, you start really connecting to it. Like, that's literally, it's, like, very impactful, because we love to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, we are just a species that loves to take in new information and hold on to it, especially if it's new and fun. We'll keep repeating it. So what if you're around a group of people that are now informing you of something and saying, well, this is what this is, and here's this new information, which impacts you harder. It's crazy, and you don't even realize they're doing it to you.
Yeah, no.
It's kind of like moving from one side of the country to the other,
It's
and
too
then
much the
learning the new
Matrix.
lingo and being like, really? And they're like, you're saying...
Wicked.
What? Yeah, like, you say wicked? I mean, I don't even say wicked. That's
I do.
funny. But, okay, so... I guess that's the creepiest part about it. But that's the last time we'll really break down neuro-linguistic programming.
Thank
We don't
God.
need to do it again. The thing is that this is the whole reason for Keith and Nancy's new company. That is the whole program, is using this. So Nancy Salzman is the official owner of ESP because she is the one who went to Delaware in 1998 in order to get incorporated under Keith's direction. Don't ever mistake the fact that Keith is the president and the boss. Nancy's second, even though her name is on foot in the bill.
Yeah.
Okay? Keith doesn't like to have his name on businesses anymore. Not
Wonder why.
When I guess you go through bankruptcy on your pyramid scheme, you realize that people are more than willing to put their name on stuff for you and still hand you over money. It's crazy. But don't worry, he is deeply involved. Like I said, with executive success programs, he is basically the president. He's also spending a lot of his time putting his name on patents through the company and through umbrella companies.
What kind of
through
patents
it.
is he putting forward?
It's really weird, but literally all you have to do is Google Keith Ranier patents, and a whole list pop up from the 90s on. I mean, even into the last couple years, and it ranges from things all the way through like the neuro-linguistic programming theories that he has on programs and sessions and training. He has one on sleep training. He has a bunch on like technological advances. It's really crazy. Like I don't know how to import data from one cell phone to this thing and what. But
it's called text messaging.
Yeah, and I really don't know that he's actually coming up with any kind of actual process. It seems like he's almost just trying to patent the name and the idea of something. But he even goes so far as to have a patent on this one's fun, rational inquiry sashes.
Really?
Yeah, and so that goes into ESP. That he literally has patents on the clothing that you're supposed to wear when you go through these programs.
That's weird.
But we're going to come back to that hard. Don't worry. So ESP is more like an umbrella company, and it becomes known more by the name NXIVM, pronounced Nexium, like the medication.
Oh yeah, there's medication.
So we call it Nexium from now on because that's what people are really going to. So in one of the company's brochures for the programs, Nancy wrote, quote, "There is probably no discovery since writing as important for humankind as Mr. Raniers' technology."
That's a little bit of a high and mighty statement.
Yeah, I thought only churches could pull shit out
Does
like
she
that.
not remember sliced bread? That was pretty important too.
That was pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
You don't have to go all the way back to writing, just sliced bread.
Yeah, no, nothing is as important since writing. That's how amazing he is.
Betty White was born, so...
And that's just the thing. Like, they put out these really big claims. It's not like we haven't already told you. I mean, OCD, Tourette's, smoking, your fear of heights. I mean, keeping you from success. That basically all sounds like magic and hoodoo to me.
Yeah, it probably is. What NXIVM is offering is high-end training sessions with multiple kinds of classes. The company offers to make people better executives and expand their companies through improved productivity. Keith tells executives that through his programs, he can train someone to see people's true intentions, which to me just sounds like training a lie detector test.
Like I said, some hoodoo and some voodoo.
He promises a deeper understanding that will make you much more successful. And I say more because this program isn't necessarily... And I say more because this program isn't necessarily aimed at everyday people, but more aimed at CEOs, high-end professionals, and other people who have already obtained a level of wealth or success.
Yeah, them fancy folks.
You know, the people that got the money to put towards it.
Yeah, Oprah.
Yeah.
Frankly, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But, we want to point out, like, it's not like you and I couldn't maybe go to a NXIVM program, but it's not like they're going to keep you out.
I've got $12 in my bank account. I'm not going to a NXIVM
You can't
program.
go at all. Yeah, that's okay.
And, you know, by 2003, ESP was doing very well, having provided programs and lectures to over 3,700 clients. That same year, the company expanded into Mexico with plans to continue further internationally. They're trying to take over the whole damn world. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, but they're doing very well with their expansion.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
On their list, a short list that we can provide of people that have attended Keith's programs are Sheila Johnston, who's a co-founder of the BET, that Black Entertainment television. I was going to say network, but I knew that didn't begin with a T.
She's in charge of Ben. What?
a former U.S. Surgeon General, Stephen Cooper, who's the CEO of Enron. The son and daughter of a former Mexican president.
Two different
Mexican
presidents.
It's two different, okay, yeah.
He's trying to not name names, but honestly, these are high-list names, and if you're not going to do it, I will. Sheila Johnson, co-founder of BET. Antonia C. Novello, former U.S. Surgeon General. Stephen Cooper, CEO of Enron. Ana Cristina Fox, daughter of former Mexican president. Emilio Salinas, son of former president of Mexico. Richard Branson. He's actually hosted NXIVM events on his private island. This is just a very, very short list, and I got most of those names just from a list that everybody names from a Forbes article. And that's the thing is, like, yeah, you can go if you have some cash, but you're going to be surrounded by people who are incredibly successful. Like, if you're already there and you're watching them come to get techniques and be more successful, I think I'm going to listen to whatever they're listening to.
Yeah.
But the thing is many of the people coming to Keith for his expertise say that it works, that he sharpens their focus, and that after going through these programs, It helps them to understand themselves, but it also gives them insight into others' motivations. Like, they feel like suddenly they really know why you're asking what it is you're asking of them, like what it is you're actually trying to achieve. Maybe like you're just trying to get this money out of me for this other thing. And essentially, ESP teaches you to make your own self-interest paramount, and that you're not to be motivated by others and their desires. Like, it's really a this is all about me kind of movement.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, and you know, that's the thing is, like, I don't think everyone should be all about them, but if it's in a self-help program, I get really conflicted with this. NXIVM on the outside and on very limited basis could be a great self-help program. It's not like this isn't a therapy program. That he's not gone from something else. It's not like he invented neuro-linguistic programming. I think you might not agree with it, but I think it's very powerful.
I don't know.
And very powerful people go to these things, and then they see how it like affects them, and they see a lot of positive outcomes. And what they start doing is that they start telling their friends and their family members, hey, I went to this program. It was really weird at first, but if you go and you like hang in there, like it actually really helps. Like, I think you should go. That's what a lot of the members that go to NXIVM end up coming out of these programs and saying. So it grows really fast. Like Corey just said, it expanded within just a couple of years, like 4 years, over into Mexico. And so when NXIVM and Keith Raniers teach you that by putting your own self-interest paramount to anything above everyone else, only then can you be truly ethical and true to yourself.
See, that, I don't know, I think if you're putting yourself above everyone else, it kind of removes ethics out of the equation, and I don't agree with that, but we're not here to kind of split hairs on what NXIVM is or isn't. I'm just giving my own kind of personal feelings on the matter.
I know, that's right away, like I said, that, you know, it's hard to say what you think on it, because you might have your own opinion on what people should do as a general morality.
Yeah.
He definitely does not run in the common like fold of that, and yet at the same time he's spouting out things like how he wants to change the world and make it a better place, and how he wants to, you know, fix all the world's problems. It's really weird how he thinks he's going to do that. I don't know. So unless you have been at a NXIVM program, you probably have no idea what goes on there, because most of the time they have attendees sign a non-disclosure contract alongside a very hefty fee for the program.
And they got you paying up front, so you're not going to break that NDA.
Yeah. And when I say a hefty fee, I'm saying some people are paying $10,000 for 5 days of lectures and intense emotional therapy sessions. I mean, that's a lot of money. You're not going to fuck that up by spending all that money and then turning around and then just kind of like talking about it and getting this published and then having them sue you.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to touch that shit.
Especially if you find that these programs work for you, then, you know, you paid the money for it. Why are you going to walk out there and tell everyone for free what, you know?
Yeah.
That's not how this program works, clearly.
Mm-mm.
With the non-disclosure, a lot of people don't know what goes on in there, but we've had a few things come out. So here's what we do know.
So what we do know is that some of these sessions, you know, they have long hours. Some of them are 13 hours long, but others run for about 17 hours.
Yeah, like we said, intense.
And, you know, they're all saying that, you know, a lot of the participants are saying, oh, you've spent this kind of money, we might as well give it our all, so that's why they don't have a problem running 17-hour days.
Yeah, you paid for this. You're going to be there.
I don't even do 17-hour days when I'm just awake and sitting at home. I go to sleep before that. And NXIVM is a very structured organization and builds itself into a hierarchy. What we do know is that Keith likes to be referred to by his title as Vanguard.
He's boss. He's boss man up there.
Yeah, also the title of the video game he really liked, and I just find that hilarious.
Yeah, in our last episode, we talked about him going to the arcade with underage girls. And he always played Vanguard. And he always played Vanguard. So
I don't even know what Vanguard is, and I'm too proud to look it up. But supposedly, in Keith's world, Vanguard stands for a leader of a philosophical movement. I mean, we all know that the definition of the word Vanguard is people who go in first. But it doesn't make that much of a difference here. Nancy is considered to be Keith's first student and is referred to as Prefect with a capital P. And participants in the groups are called Espions, and they're all considered just other students.
Yeah, you're not like a member. You're not a client. You are a student when you go into these sessions.
Yeah, but then you've got the Vanguard followed by the Prefect and then the rest of the Espions. The typical day does begin with some weird sessions where everyone's removing their shoes before class.
Okay.
At 8 a.m., they do the, quote, ESP hand clap.
Hell yeah.
And I'm assuming that's some sort of weird handshake.
Yeah, see, that's where you start getting to the weird, like, secret society thing.
And, you know, to go to a North Korea level of secret society here, they say thank you to a picture of Keith that's framed on the wall before every class.
Oh, God.
So,
the moment that happened, I would leave.
this shit goes off the rails real quick. Participants start learning the group's special handshakes, and people are provided with colored sashes that signify rank within the organization. When a higher-ranking member walks into the room, the lower-ranking people have to stand and bow, and they're encouraged to pay tribute to these people in words and deeds.
Yeah, so again, the hierarchy comes in here, and these are the sashes we mentioned before that he had pants on.
Yeah, like a capoeira, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or, what is it, the hairband.
But the whole point is it makes that person stand out because they've put more into this program than you have. That's the only way you get more different colors and go up rank is through this program. It's not like by walking in as a certain person.
Right. So yeah, and this hierarchy is kind of, based on a reflection, air quotes here, of their self-awareness, but it also kind of reflects on how well they are at recruiting new members to NXIVM.
Yeah, that's a very, very big deal in NXIVM, just as it was in Consumer's Byline. Don't forget that this is Keith's big thing, participation and members. And so that is a part of getting into a new ranking. It's not just like, oh, you did this program, okay, we know you did this class, you have this awareness of this. It's literally like, who can you pull in?
Yeah, it's not like going and getting your degree where you did those classes, great.
I think that's weird. How do people not feel like that's like one of those things that should be like a flag? I don't get it.
Because you get super colored things for doing things.
It's like, it's like getting your little pieces of flair and you just can't not do it.
I just keep picturing Bob's Burgers because of the scrunchies.
Yeah,
that he kept getting.
Yeah. And he was so proud of them.
And that's what it is. He didn't even believe in it, but he kept getting that little trinket, so he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to join in on that.
It feels good.
So there's a lot of steps to getting your new color sash. There's like a stripe path. So you have to get 4 different stripes ironed onto your current sash before you can move up to the next sash, and then it cycles over again. According to a member in a New York Times Magazine article, some rank sashes have not even been achieved yet.
Oh, yeah, and trust me, when they said it was like, some of them haven't even been achieved.
Dun,
like,
dun, 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 dun.
Like, yeah, so it's just one of those things that you're forever trying to be the best or get this or, and it's literally made up. Like, he can continue to just make up colors as he goes because they are continuously making new classes. This didn't start with a bunch of classes. This started with, like, 1, maybe 2 programs.
Oh, and people took a serious shit.
And it's definitely expanded because you're told, like, well, we'll get into it. I'm sorry.
So like we're saying, there's a lot of new stuff that's constantly coming into NXIVM. The participants are learning new jargon, new lingo to define their reality.
Which goes with the neurolinguistic programming.
Right. Keith explains that some people are parasites, and we're going to give this a capital P on that one. And that parasites are just people who suffer, creating problems where none exist and craving attention.
I know some people like that.
I was just going to say, I've dated some people like that. He says that some people are also suppressives, and these are people that see good, but they want to destroy it.
That's me.
I don't believe that.
I want to destroy everything.
And there's also this 12-point mission statement that members are expected to recite. And you want to know who wrote this? Keith. Yeah, he just kind of came down from the high heavens.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vanguard.
Right, the Vanguard. I feel like you have to put your hands up like that. You guys can't see me, but I'm holding my hands up like.
Oh, you said I'm putting my hand up, and I'm sure they thought something else.
Hands. There's 2 of them.
I see 202.
Like if you go.
I just want to make that.
If you go to church and you watch the priest kind of hold his hands out, that's how you gotta say Vanguard. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Just as an insight, it has a tendency saying things like, "There are no ultimate victims. Therefore, I will not choose to be a victim." Weird shit, right?
I mean, but again, this is a therapy session, a self-help session to make you feel better and control yourself. I mean, on the outside, this is not bad things to say to yourself.
Except for number 11.
There's no ultimate victims, therefore I will not choose to be a victim. Like, that's a good thing to say.
Right, but let's look at number 11 of this 12-point mission statement here. It requires all members to pledge to ethically control as much money, wealth, and resources of the world as possible. This is because it is essential for the survival of humankind for these things to be controlled by successful, ethical people. Yeah, no. In fact, NXIVM does not believe in charity and teamwork or compassion. Those are virtues that parasites want to drag out from all of us.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So, just no.
That's the thing, too. And okay, we live in a really wealthy area.
Yeah.
And I get to listen to people who control wide arrays of wealth talk sometimes. And truly, like, I can kind of see what they're saying, like, oh, well, we're very wealthy and we should control wealth because we're intelligent, because we know what to do with it. That's why we have, like, that's really their philosophy on this. And that it's because they have wealth because they deserve it and they're good at it. It's like this old age philosophy that if you're poor, you brought it upon yourself. And it's like,
of course you did.
It's really, really weird. But the weird point is that these people want to own all the money in the world so that they can make the world better, and yet they don't really believe on using it in the benefit of other people. It's a really weird philosophy, but it really, in the end, just like his previous pyramid schemes, this all really benefits the people at the very top of this, which is Keith.
Yeah.
And, well, of course, people at the very top of a pyramid scheme make the most.
Yeah, of course they do. So in his classes, Keith will teach things that, similar to like every dollar spent represents a portion of effort, and that giving and taking is really integrity. Every dollar spent should be a worthwhile representation of that effort. You know, and some are saying that some of these sessions are made to break you down psychologically so that your perception can be built back up the way you need to see the world. I already
told you, like, we're changing vocabulary. We're changing the way you focus.
Yeah. And in the exploration portion of their sessions, called the exploration of meaning, a therapist will encourage a participant to reveal their background, their beliefs, and also their negative habits. They then have that person pledge to replace those bad habits with a new habit. This change is considered upgrading your belief system and is called replacing data with data.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way of saying that. I don't care how uncreative you are.
Keith is not very clever in any of his titles. Like, go look at all his patents. Like, there's not one with, like, a clever title whatsoever. And this is why, like, I go back to, I'm shaking my head. Okay, I hear it. That makes sense. Every dollar you spend should be considered, like, a portion of your time. And every minute of your time should be considered what it was worth in money, too. And that'll keep you from wasting your time. And then the same thing with this. Like, we're gonna do an explorative, like, change in your meaning of words. But this is very Scientology, where they sit you down and somebody, like, delves into your background. They go, what is your fear? What is the thing you're most ashamed of? What's that dark thing that, like, you look back on sometimes and it makes you cringe? Like, they're really delving into the things that you probably hide from everybody.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, I need to know this. I need to know this in order to help you. But at the same time, like, Scientology, like, this is, like, all on record.
Yeah.
And somebody now has all this dirt on you. Now imagine again, who are the people they're doing this with? Really high-ranking, executive, wealthy people who are, you know, now that's just blackmail stuff.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm sorry, Keith, but I'm going to keep ordering Uber Eats even though I know it's a shitty deal. My time is not worth that much. And that's what happens. All these explorations, NXIVM prepares you for this, I can't phrase it any better than deep probing. But before you even begin, they tell you that these sessions will be uncomfortable. It's not going to be fun, and they're not using lube.
This is also culty. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to know all your deepest, darkest shit to help you.
I'm pretty sure...
I need to do something that's going to feel awful. Oh, does it feel bad? Good. That's how you know it's working.
I'm pretty sure this is exactly how Keith approached some of these underage girls, because the next line I have written down about these quotes is like, they say that if you're uncomfortable, it means you're doing it right.
Oh, that's so creepy.
And that's how they find the negative aspects so they can tweak them. But the importance of the program is that as they help you, they point out that there's always something more to fix. And you want to know what that means? It means there's a new class you can take.
Yeah, and I mean...
And spend more money.
If you like being a good ethical person, you're not just going to just stop now, right? Like, you want to keep going. You already feel so good. Why wouldn't you want to just keep being successful?
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's crazy. Like, yeah, it's almost like a pyramid scheme wrapped around, like, a weird self-help religion. It's so... Oh, wow. Okay. And you might be like, no. Like, a lot of people that do 1 or 2 sessions come out of this and say, look, it really helped me, and this is definitely not a cult. But let's think about it. Like, the clothing, the bowing, the handshakes.
The picture of Keith on the wall, yeah, it's a cult.
Yeah.
You know, and there aren't just, like, the 2 programs, but new classes are being added to the repertoire all the time, like we were saying. And you've got this class that's called Mobius, and it's where you learn about healing the parts of yourself that you reject and not hating them in other people.
And again, yeah, we should all learn that.
Or, you know, the class called Money, where you learn to value your time and activities like you would with money. But unfortunately, some of these programs turn out to be so intense that a small number of people have turned up at hospitals having mental breaks.
Yeah.
And even others have died.
It's crazy.
This isn't fucking around at this point.
When we say 13 to 17 hours, like, we're not playing around. And that's the thing is, like, if you're not ready or prepared for that consistently, like, very quickly, like, in a number of days, you can lose your shit. I mean, I think I've said it once before, but I joined the military, and that's a big part of, like, the training is the crazy hours and the consistent, like, working your body and your mind. Like, it's a breakdown, and some people don't make it through it because it's too much. But, I mean, these people are going to a self-help program. They're clearly not expecting to walk into some intense military
Craziness.
or psychological breakdown program.
Yeah, no,
Especially one that you just paid thousands of dollars
you
for.
paid to do this. You don't want to hurt yourself. I mean, most of the time. There are clubs for that. In 2003, though, a 35-year-old Christian Snyder, who's an environmental consultant, participated in one of these NXIVM programs, and afterwards she disappeared. Her body was never found, but her truck was. Inside the truck, there was a note that was written, quote, "I was brainwashed, and my emotional center of the brain was killed/turned off. Please contact my parents if you find me or this note. I am sorry. I didn't know I was already dead." So shit kind of gets a little bit deep and crazy with this. And
yeah, someone is literally, like, they left a program and they died. They supposedly killed themselves, but she's not the only one, and multiple people in certain towns have had psychological breaks and had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, it's too intense. It's crazy.
And that means to me, like, how is that self-help? Like, what are you doing in those hours that someone has a mental breakdown or goes and kills himself that was considered self-help at any time?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I really, truly don't believe that any of the people that are in this group have some kind of, like, therapist degree by any means. I think they're just members of NXIVM who've gained the ranks to be like, well, no, I've gone through this program.
I can teach it.
I can now do this program and take this information in.
Yeah.
How hard is it to, like, delve that deep? But I lied. I take that back. I know that he has a couple doctors in the program, and I guess we'll have to mention them in the next, like, later on. We'll mention them a little bit later than this. But yeah, this is like their playground. They are coming in and using this deep delving as their own, like, way to test people, and we'll talk about that. But just to add on to those programs, like we said, it started very few. Now there's more, and that means that there's a multi-level, and people are suggested to take multiple courses. Again, like, why would you just take the one? Now you can go and improve yourself, like, go on to the next one. It's sort of seen and through the representation of the colored sashes. You walk in a room and people know what you've succeeded in accomplishing. And so, for instance, one member, Sarah Branfman, she's actually the heir of the Seagram fortune. Seagram 7.
Like the liquor, like the gin?
Yes, that's her dad has like 7 kids, but like her and her sister are very, very much into NXIVM. And so all the way back into like 2003, they got into this program. And I mean, these are heiresses. These girls have billions of dollars that they can play with and do whatever they want to. And in fact, they do. Sarah is, was rather, huge into championship horse riding. And she's very talented at it.
Seems like a more worthwhile endeavor than a NXIVM.
Well, not according to her. So, I mean, she's an heiress. And so, when she's asked about, you know, her experience with NXIVM, and she's asked about the sashes, she is quoted as saying, look, quote, "Coming from a family where I've never had to earn anything before in my life, it was a very, very moving experience for me to be awarded this yellow sash. It was the first thing that I had earned on just my merits.
You could just go join a martial arts class and they're going to give you a belt.
Dude, this girl won, like, some amazing horse championship awards. Like, this is not the first thing this girl got on her merits, but Keith told her, oh, you succeed in this, and look, nobody helped you. Somebody told her this is the first thing you succeeded on your own merits. I'm sure they told her when it even came to, like, her horse, like, her past with the horses, like, oh, well, there was the horse, and there was the trainer, and there was these people, weren't there? You know, with this, she, honest to God, thinks, like, she succeeded in something for the first time.
That's just terrifying.
So, in NXIVM, meanwhile, like, it's very big on the membership, and it encourages, like we said before, like, there's the classes, and that's, like, you helping you. But the other way to grow in the program just even faster and to gain this rank is to do the membership. And like I said, people will just kind of do it in order to, like, bring their friends and family in because it helps you. I mean, that's one thing. But then again, Keith has reverted this back to, like, Consumer's Byline, where you can actually get a commission, just like before, by bringing in people. And now we've just told you, people are spending a lot of fucking money on these classes.
Yeah.
So, some members in NXIVM have gained enough rank in order to earn a 20% commission.
And
so
20% off of 10,000. That's
10,000, 1,000, 2,000. I mean, I don't care. That's enough to go out and have a good day of shopping, or enough to go, you know, it's money getting back in your pocket for basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
And he's got people doing it. And when we say the company's making money, like, we've told you about people who are in this kind of work and they make a lot of money. So really, just even from the beginning, NXIVM was making $4 million a year. But again, Keith, he's very shy about how you see him and him with money. So according to him, like, he doesn't have a salary.
Oh.
He doesn't even have a bank account. In his own description, he lives a somewhat church mouse type existence.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, Keith. Yeah.
Yeah, he's real pious. Because I know that we didn't mention it in this episode as much, but just don't forget, like, he's got this big multi-relationship going on, and
yeah.
I doubt once fucking a 12-year-old makes you ever stop doing that when you have all this money again. But that's speculation. Hey, cheers to that. Cheers. Tinky tink. It's speculation, and that's just me saying whatever. So, like I said, he's got no bank account, and because of that, he considers himself to be living below the poverty line. So Keith doesn't pay any taxes. This guy runs a company that makes $4 million plus a year, but because he doesn't have a bank account, he doesn't have to pay taxes. According to him, he actually lives between three friends, even though he partially owns a very big house with Nancy Salzman up in Albany, New York, in, like, this big neighborhood we'll talk about. But he's saying he lives between three friends' homes and just couch surface and relies on their goodness. In reality, he's romantically connected to every person in those houses, and it's just, like, not that person. He's pretty much a bigamist. He is big on having multiple women in his life.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a car, he doesn't drive, he's very, like, off the grid, so he relies on his friends for rides, but typically you can find him walking the neighborhood surrounded by groups of women, and he'll walk about 10 to 12 miles a day.
I wonder how many times he has the groups of women just carry him around.
I would, but it would probably demasculate him, so he won't do it.
Oh yeah, I can walk on my own 2 feet, damn it.
The point is like I don't know if he honestly believes this or if this is where his thinking is. Because, like I said, he doesn't have the savings account, so he doesn't pay taxes.
Yeah.
But then people are like, okay, well, if you don't have money, so to say, where's these brand new clothes come? Where's your shoes come from? Because, like, everything costs money.
Yeah, he's getting gifts.
And he'll say something like, well, they just appear. I won't have known about these clothes' existence, and then they'll be there one day and I have new clothes. Like, that's his best answer for that.
That's weird.
Really, it's his followers, his students, who provide him with a place to live, a place to sleep, and the clothing he's going to live in. And, I mean, I'm going to just say, they're not shabby, they're not secondhand, they're not given to him. This is just a sneak around way of saying, like, no, I don't technically have money. Like, nobody can count him on bankruptcy in this idea of his.
So by 2003, Keith had investors lined up to pay for a $15 million building in Albany, New York.
Yeah, because if you think they're just paying for his shirts, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, there's money coming all over straight towards Keith. And that wasn't, all they were paying for. The Bronfman sisters alone had been heavily funding Keith since about 2004. They began by giving him a $2 million loan, and during his week-long birthday celebration, because he's a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, and he does this every year, by the way. If you are an NXIVM member and you're high-ranking enough, you're expected to spend like a cool couple grand to go join him on his birthday celebration all week long, every year.
Yeah. So, during that birthday celebration, they donated $20 million to his foundation to finance Keith's, I'm going to use air quotes here, scientific research.
So really, that's just saying you have a foundation that you made up. Here's some money. So they just gave Keith $20 million.
Yeah. And, also in 2004, they kind of bought him a jet.
Yeah.
No big
how
deal.
Do you expand internationally if you have to fly among us peasants?
Yeah, you got to have your own jet. In 2005, the sisters funded his financial losses in the commodities market. And by then, they'd already lost $7 million on Keith.
Let me change that. Keith lost $7 million playing the stock market.
Yeah.
And he was like, sorry. And they were like, it's cool. And they just like put more money into this. And we're just saying it out there like it was nothing. But the reality of it is like they're the youngest of this elite family. So there's this amount of money that's just sitting there for them to play with. But they're not expected to just give it away or blow it on stuff like this.
Yeah.
The reality of it was at first their dad saw like good changes in his daughters and saw like they were happier and more productive and like that he wanted to be a part in their lives. And so he went to this program and he signed the non-disclosure, and they even got him quoted as saying like, this is a great program. If everyone could do this program, it would be a better place. Like the world would be a better place.
That's weird.
And yet, just like a year or two later, after they started spending all this money on Keith and all this money started getting lost, he full out said, this is a cult.
Yeah.
That Keith is just controlling, and he's very worried about his daughters. Like, it caused a huge legal battle where they got, like, he shut down their accounts and their access to it. Like, it's not like they're poor and broke. Not, they're not that sweet and sad. But the reality of it is like daddy made them have to go through a new accounting firm in order to gain their money.
Well, it probably didn't help that, sometime between 2005 and 2007, Keith lost them $65.6 million on top of the jet and the $7 million. He was trying to start a company with Nancy Salzman called First Principles.
I'm sorry. Like, I went into this whole, like, why the dad would be mad, and you think it was like, oh, this million and this million. And
nope,
then
here's
you just,
65.
Yeah, so just say that sentence one more time. It's so, I don't even know why I get, like, this sickly pleasure in it, because it's so a ridiculous amount I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so in between 2005 and 2007, Keith was working with Nancy Salzman to start this company called First Principles. And he lost $70 million on this company. 65.6 million of it were covered by the sisters. So a jet is one thing. A $2 million here is a drop in the bucket compared to $65 million.
Yeah.
I mean, hell.
How?
They'd also spent nearly $1 million buying and refurbishing Nancy's house. They purchased a $6.5 million apartment in Trump International Hotel and Tower in Manhattan that Nancy Salzman used. So they're just going to throwing money at Keith and Nancy.
Yeah, whatever they have, these apartments, like, I wouldn't say NXIVM members could use them, but the high-ranking top of NXIVM, like Nancy and Keith and other followers at that ranking level can come into their apartment at the Trump building or, where Albany. Like, I mean, these people have places all over the country.
Yeah. And by 2007, the sisters had spent $26.4 million on a real estate deal in California under Keith's direction. They placed it under another umbrella corporation called Precision Development.
And that's what these people tend to do. Like, here's the main company, but we'll just do this little outside company, and then we'll file things under that name, and then it won't really show up as, like, NXIVM, it'll show up as that. Like, you have to do some, like, crawling through the paperwork to figure out who these people actually are.
Tracking it down.
Yeah, and the thing is like, you wonder, like, these girls are heiresses. Like, they're wealthy, intelligent, educated people, and they're just, like Corey said, throwing money at Keith.
Why
would you do this? Like, why, if you're the head of a very famous television network, or why if, like, you finally gained a high rank in the military, or whatever, why would you just, like, follow this guy? Like, because in all honesty, he's got a high IQ, but all he has is a couple of bachelor's degrees.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a doctor by any means. And yet people just, there's something that happens in these programs that have people convinced that, I mean, what he's doing deserves their money. And so, like I said, he was expanding from California. He was going down into Mexico. The sisters themselves were trying to build up in California. And so that being said, in 2009, the sisters and Keith's organization, the World Ethical Foundations Consortium, hosted the 14th Dalai Lama. So Lama Tenzin Dondin, the personal emissary for peace for the Dalai Lama, ended up arranging the appearance. And I only mention that because he's now been put in connection with one of the sisters as dating her.
Jeez.
But when this appearance was going to start, so the Dalai Lama was coming to Albany in just to be making an appearance at these girls' foundation. So when you're this wealthy, when you have just basically billions sitting in a bank, you can just start whatever foundation you want, and usually it's a good thing. Hey, like, that's the whole point originally of, like, if you have a lot of wealth, maybe you should be doing something to make the world better, and
like
you can
Will
start.
Smith's kid.
Yeah, well, he's bringing water to Flint,
Right.
Which is crazy to me that Flint still doesn't have water. But
he's doing something good with his money. He's not being crazy.
Well, normally he is pretty crazy. So that's why I wouldn't normally use him as, like, a great,
it's in the news right now.
But the point is, like, when you have this, it really is nothing to you to, like, go out of your way and do a good thing. So they make these foundations. Thing is once the Dalai Lama was made aware of who was holding the foundation, there was actually kind of an outcry. Like, it basically looked like you paid for him and he's coming, and, like, look who this is, so you'll just speak to anybody. Like, Keith is not unknown, so at this point he's supposed to make the appearance and he cancels it. But the sisters hear of the cancellation and literally fly with a contingent of their friends to the Dalai Lama and convince him that he needs to come out and still do, like, the thing. And there's something about donations, and I don't know, you put two and two together. But he did. He showed up. Like, you can look into the newspaper articles, and, like, the Dalai Lama came to a program that Keith Raniers held, basically. Like, it's just really weird to see, like, a picture of him and the Dalai Lama together. And when you see things like that, you kind of start to believe Keith that he's some kind of help guru. Like, if he's so nice and kind, then obviously he'll meet the Dalai Lama. Like, Dalai Lama would meet some crazy, like, bad person who runs a cult, right?
Exactly.
But things are going really well for him. NXIVM's growing. They're going international. They're getting into Mexico. By 2009, he expands into a chapter in Vancouver, Canada, and it's led by actress Sarah Edmondson. So
Which sounds Canadian, yeah.
She's pretty famous in her own right, and in the next episode, we will definitely get into her. But at this time, like, Keith was living in a house with girlfriend Pam Caffitz, and I think we mentioned her last time. And his neighborhood is mostly just homes owned by other NXIVM members. So in fact, the locals like to call that neighborhood the compound. And it seems like it's all NXIVM.
It's got to be a lot like when you walk through downtown Clearwater and around the Scientology church and you just see Scientologists walking around.
Yeah, but like being in Utah and not being a Mormon, like that must like really
or
stand out to you.
Going back home and not being.
Like I said before, like you get around the compound or I guess his neighborhood, you'll see Keith. He's surrounded by women. And again, they're not like schlubs. They are heiresses. They are like actresses. They're wealthy business women. Not usually men, although men do come to his programs. But what's even stranger is that there's another member in this neighborhood. So we have the self-help program. We have all the people who love this program so much that they're members, students, and they all live together. But there's also a young boy that showed up. And so according to a 2010 Vanity Fair article, this little boy came there under strange circumstances. His name is Galen. And the most repeated tale, because there's a couple different rumors about Galen, but the most repeated one was that he was given to member Barbara Jeske when he was only a couple weeks old by the baby's grandfather. Something about his mother dying in a car accident or like unable to care for her baby. And so she was given over to Barbara. And, of course, Barb is a longtime member of NXIVM.
That's why she's in the story.
Yeah. So...
Poor kid.
That's, as of 2010, Galen's 3 years old, and he was living with member Kristen Keith. And that would be NXIVM's and the Brofman sisters' legal advisor.
Oh.
So again, like, they're all interconnected. So Galen is considered Keith's heir, and he's also called the youngest espion.
That's a great way to raise a kid.
Yeah. Reality of it is like, let's just break this down. This kid was given to this group to be raised, and now it's his heir. A lot of people just think this is really Keith's kid.
It probably is.
Considering the fact that he was trying to get Tony Natalie pregnant with his God-saving child, yeah. I'm pretty sure he has no problem getting one of these ladies pregnant. So why the big secrecy deal, right?
He wants some sort of mysticism out of it.
Well, he's definitely selling it because he raises Galen the way he feels that children should be raised in his genius philosophy of child rearing. So Galen is on a raw diet, and he's also kept away from other children. And he's raised by 5 nannies, and each nanny speaks a different language to him. So he's got a Russian, Spanish, Hindi, Chinese, and English-speaking nanny. And this is supposed to, be a good way to teach children and develop in their minds and blah, blah, blah. But basically what Galen really is he's a live human test practice study for Keith. Like, this is Keith's way of raising a kid, and he's done it, and now he's putting it to use to build his own teaching design, and he's started his own school system.
That's not a good idea.
It is called the Rainbow Cultural Garden, and if that sounds familiar, well, it should. It's in a lot of really big cities.
Really?
London, Miami, New York. Yeah, all over.
Anything that deals with school systems, I tend to avoid.
In fact, I think I mentioned, here I list it later, but I'll do it now. So London, New York, Miami, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Mexico, and Monterrey, Mexico. And that's something we'll end up talking about in the next episode, because I didn't really end where Keith is now. We just wanted to build up NXIVM. You're like, is it a cult? Is it not a cult? It sounds kind of culty to me. But what Keith builds off of NXIVM is for sure a sex cult.
Yeah, we told you guys this was going to be a 3-part or 2-part episode. Spoiler.
No, we said 2, but we told you earlier it was going to be a trilogy.
Really?
I don't know.
That was yesterday.
That bitch is going to be a trilogy.
It's going to be 3 parts.
All right, so back to the schools. He's built Rainbow Cultural Garden, and Keith calls it a revolutionary educational protocol for children. And this is despite the fact that Keith has no teaching experience. He doesn't have a degree in teaching.
On a scale of, not teaching to Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good and Want to Learn to do other stuff good, too, where does this fall?
I think he's pretty close to Derek Zoolander, but Derek Zoolander actually cares.
That's true. How are you expected to learn?
And you will learn more important things at Derek's school, like how to do your, patented look. So what happens over at Keith's school is that you will have your kid taught by several different teachers that are basically nannies, and they're all going to speak different languages: Spanish, English, Arabic, Mandarin, Hindi, Russian, German, and Japanese. Count it. You're getting even more than Galen. We're going up to 8. And it's funny because the teachers are called multicultural development specialists. Sounds really fancy.
Oh, yeah, it does.
But they don't require to have their own degree either. They just need to be native speakers. And in fact, Keith only pays them around $10 to $15 per hour.
So less than I get. Okay, great. I feel less bad now.
But that's okay, because every kid that goes to these schools, they pay about $120,000 a year.
Oh, yeah. No way you can't pay the teachers anything with that.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, you would just be breaking down the whole reason why they're there in the first place. And that's really for the kids.
Yeah.
So, don't worry. If you enroll multiple children, you'll get a discount on the other ones.
Hot damn!
We all know that you don't love the second one as much.
No.
So, we got to give you a discount on bringing that one.
Kid.
Otherwise, you won't do it. So... yeah, he eventually opens all these schools all over the world. And Keith has his own school system.
I don't like this at all. While the company is expanding with the school system and internationally, Keith's also back at the grindstone developing new classes for NXIVM. I don't even know what to call it. By 2011 and 2012, a new program has been added to the regime called, get this one, Human Pain.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, and, it's an 8-day level 2 training.
No, I'm good.
So, level 1 is studying collateral and penance, and level 2, shit gets weird.
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
People are supposed to be willing to put down collateral for their promise to their commitment.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let's hop back for a moment. What was level 1?
Level 1 is studying collateral and penance.
So that means that you're gonna give a promise. So, I promise to quit smoking.
Good.
And then you need to also promise a penance. So, if I don't go through with my promise,
I'll smoke the
I
whole
need to
bag.
commit a penance. And I guess you could do that, but I think what they're really pushing for is something that really means something to you. It should matter.
Yeah. NXIVM kind of offers their own punishments for these penances. So even if you can't come up with something, they will. If you don't complete the thing you promised, you'll get their punishments, and sometimes that is things like being forced to sleep on the floor or taking cold showers for a week.
Yeah, and the thing is they're not forcing you to do it.
No, you're paying money. You're paying money for this torture, guys.
And that's the thing that kind of will end up being legal loopholes for later on. You're expected to go through with this. You said so. You're the one that made the promise. You're the one that came up with the cold showers for a week.
Yeah.
So do it.
And there's a few other examples. Like this one male member, he made a commitment to recruit a certain number of people, a certain number of male members in NXIVM, and his collateral was his leather jacket from the time when he was quarterback.
So right there, that's especially because you're supposed to care about this program too. He put up collateral that would really mean something to him.
Yeah.
That was his
glory days.
His glory days. And literally he's thinking I might lose this forever. You're not going to do that. It's a lesson.
Yeah. And, for women, penance can range to food and calorie intake, because we all know what Keith likes.
Well, okay, he's trying to be sarcastic, but some people might not realize that when Keith was dating those underage girls who happened to be 15, 16, 12, he was pressuring them to even lose weight.
Yeah, it's fucking
He
ridiculous.
is very big on women being thin and he would say health conscious, but they're really big on limiting calories. And so for this program, penance would be calorie intake. And I just want to jump in there. There are people who have come out of NXIVM and have later been quoted as saying things like, you will see people who are only eating 200, 300 calories a day. They are starving themselves in order to participate in this program to make up for something.
It's just ridiculous.
I guarantee you walk into a NXIVM building, you're not going to see a 230-pound woman.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But that's one of those underlying things. It's not like Keith comes out there and says, being fat's bad. I don't think he'll say anything like that. I just think he'll wrap it around this whole penance and don't you care about yourself. And if you really
He'll somehow neg a woman into it, because he seems like the kind of guy who'd still be negging.
And those classes don't just stop. And for me, that's a really scary title already. Human Pain. But
wait for the next one.
Another class that began in 2012 and it went all the way to 2017. So that's the whole reason I picked this group in the beginning. Is like we said before, is we like to do stuff that is in the news right now. You should know about. How we not know about it? This group is happening. This is the things that are happening. And so we'll just drop the bomb. Keith's in jail right now. He's going through a court program, and it all really has to do with NXIVM, and it especially has to do with something I said a little bit earlier, which is a group that he starts off in NXIVM, and we're going to talk all about it next week. And that's just the thing. This goes it's going up to 2017, it's going up to today. And so all the way up until 2017, there was this new, let's put it this way, it was a human subject research study, and it was held by one of the NXIVM doctors named Brandon Porter. And so
this didn't go well.
Dr. Porter has since been gone to court, and he's had his medical license questioned this activity. But what he did was he started a study that he called the Fright Study.
Oh, great. So we got Human Pain and Fright Study.
So
super.
So remember when I said that there's those really deep, intense sessions where you're going to sit down and people are going to really delve into you and yourself and your past and your fears and like the things that you need to find and actually admit to so you can become a better person.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon Porter likes to take these times to do his fright studies, and in so, he will force participants into activities that he does not prepare them for, does not warn them about, and they have to sign a paper saying, like, they're going to do it, and they're not going to, like, cancel, and they're not going to tell other people about it. But what he does is he forces attendees to watch really graphic and real videos, like, forcefully. Things among stuff like murders, dismemberments. He does one of his favorite videos is murders and a dismemberment of 4 women with machetes.
Oh, god damn it.
He makes people watch a film clip of a male African American being stomped by a Nazi. He has a conscious male being forced to eat a portion of his own brain matter. And then he also does like a graphic gang rape. It's from like American History X or something. But what it is essentially is like he's showing real and not real videos, but they're so graphic you can't tell the difference. And he's just forcing these really graphic things on people who aren't prepared for them. And for the most part, probably would never. Like, there's some people out there who watch this and that's fine to them. Whatever, that's their thing. They watch videos like this because they're prepared. And their brain's going, okay, I'm going to go watch this. These are people who have no like idea that this is coming. This is his study on like what happens to them. But that's not the only stuff he's doing. Because this is the same doctor that's conducting sessions to cure Tourette's and OCD and just the general ESP sessions all the way from 2012. You know, according to people who have come out of these therapy sessions, you know, so this is the doc who's doing like the beginning sessions onto the deep therapy sessions into fright study. And they have literally walked out of therapy sessions in which they were convinced that they are reincarnated Nazis.
Great.
Or that they're responsible for 9/11.
Oh, I know.
So as little as they're saying, oh, well, he did a fright study and people watched really scary movies. No, that's not all he did to people.
Yeah.
He took their vulnerability as a psychologist, that time when you break people down to like their essential core and how their brain works, and he played with it. People like him, and I get, like, how is he just doing this by himself? People like Keith and Nancy who have held their own therapy sessions, they're using them to manipulate people for their own entertainment. Yeah, maybe they are trying to help a few people. But in reality, when they're open to just, they're not doctors.
Yeah, no.
They're just having people open up themselves, and people are walking out of here thinking, oh my God, I think I'm responsible for 9/11. I created the Holocaust. I made this major, like, life debilitating thing happen. Like, yeah, he could be a guy that could be a self-help guru who's helping people extend their care, like, their person and their thought process and building a great life for themselves.
Right.
Or he could be a fucking psychopath who's manipulating people and making them feel like shit and just turning them into little psychopaths. And not only that, but he has school systems. This guy has a fucking school system, not only in one country, but multiple.
Yeah.
And, luckily for us, like I already dropped the bomb, Keith has been arrested. But we'll get into that into the next episode. We're already pulling into an hour and 20 minutes here. So, I don't want to keep going on. I don't want to keep going on. That's why it's got to be a trilogy. But this is insane that this guy has been around literally since, like, in a business fashion, since, like, the 80s.
Yeah.
And since the late 2000s, he's literally built a group based upon his psychological functionings and twistings of other people's, like, personas.
Just fucking insane.
And that he doesn't stop there. You think that's crazy enough? He goes way further. So tune in next week when we're going to tell you about his secret society of women, his DOS. We'll get all into it, and then we're finally going to be done with NXIVM.
Thank God.
It's so much, and I think this is the only way we could have a current day cult.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. We couldn't have something all uber religious. We had to make it about, like,
self-help.
#me and all about my lifestyle.
Yep.
Like, but yeah, tell us what you think so far. Do you think we're being ridiculous? Is this guy just a self-help guru that made a little bit of money and we're being harsh? Or is this guy a total psychopath that started himself a cult and just knows how to get really sexy women? I don't know. Send us an email. You can do that over at snafoodpodcast@gmail.com.
You can hit us up on Instagram and Facebook, and that's going to be at @snafoodpodcast. Also, Twitter. I keep forgetting that one.
Yeah, and please don't forget to go to iTunes, subscribe, and rate and review. And the review part is my favorite because I read it over and over and over again.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, click the subscribe button below. I'm pointing.
I don't know how YouTube works, so do that.
You have a subscribe button below.
All right. And until then, make sure you checked up on our listeners episode. And if you're jealous that you didn't think those stories were the best thing that could have been told, maybe you should tell us yours. Send your story in. Just email it on over. And until next week, we look forward to talking to you. And
stay classy.
And stay sexy. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.